Can you remember who was in your final in 2004?
In the Olympics? So, me, Sean Crawford, Maurice Green, Francis Obukwelu, Asafa Powell, Obadeli Thomas, Aziz Sakur. 8 lanes. Who is that last person? Kim Collins? Kim was in there?
Yeah.
Oh, man. We're going to label this micro careers. You're going to have these young athletes from high school. They're going to get paid at a young age to be like these glorified poster childs, and they may not pan out to be the professional athletes that we think they can be. They may have just a career that lasts 6, 7, 8 years. Once I got in that service car to go back to the hotel, man, I cried like a baby, dog. But it wasn't the fact that I lost to Usain. It was the fact that I had the moment to win. It just wasn't my time to win. I realized that later on. I mean, you look at what our sport consists of when it comes to the athletes and how our sport is set up, it's a mismatch. Like, our sport has been ran like almost like tennis or golf. Very posh, very white glove. The sport consists of young athletes who look at themselves as rock stars, right? So give them that environment to where they can show their persona, they can go out and jump around, they can listen to the music, all that kind of stuff, because it really caters to young athletes.
Well, welcome back. Another episode, Track World News Podcast. I'm here with a legend in the game, Olympic gold medalist, 2-time Olympic silver medalist, 4-time world champion, American record holder in the 4x1, former world record holder, 5th fastest man to touch this planet, and an amazing podcast host, Mr. Justin Gatlin. Justin, thank you for joining today, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Long overdue, bro. Long overdue, man. And we obviously, over with RSG, man, we love what you do. We love all the things that you bring to the table. You are our BBC, our CNN, our Fox, our everything, bro. We love listening in on what you bring to the table and the latest news as well, man. So
thank you. No, same with you all. Like I put you as the podcast of the year, so it can't be bad. Like it's I've been getting a lot more into like bike riding and all that type of stuff, and just like being active. And I went through a little down spell. Every single time I put in your podcast and I'll listen to it. I was listening. I'm gonna go on a ride probably later today and listen to the one with Mouse that you guys just had. So
I love just sitting down with him, man. I mean, obviously knowing him throughout the years and from college, and he recruited me heavy, and then building a relationship with him, even just from afar, not being my coach, but being part of Team USA, I always consider him one of my coaches as well.
Yeah. How was that recruiting process? I'm sure he might have changed a little bit now and later, but how was that, going, when he was, looking after you back in the day?
Oh man, he watched me grow and I watched him grow. I watched him as the assistant coach at University of Florida, and he just was handling business as an assistant coach, and he grew to head coach, and then he realized like this is something that he wanted to be, and it was amazing to watch him grow to the coach he is, a legendary coach he is today, man.
Yeah, it's like there's a few, like I feel like in basketball, football, other sports, like a lot of the big time, coaches that are around. In track and field, it's a lot less so, I feel, but he's one where his name is whenever people are talking about who are some of the best coaches in the history of this sport, like he's always brought up as someone that's been a game changer from way back in the day to even today with a lot of the people he's got.
It's crazy because I think it's always been like that in our sport. The legendary coaches, the really good coaches, like you barely see them. Like I remember growing up and I hear like Maurice Green or Otto Bolden or John Drummond, these guys, and they talking about, they're coached by John Smith. I never knew what John Smith looked like until I think I turned pro. And then I saw him in the lobby one day, and they was like, that's John Smith. I was like, oh, he looks like Candyman.
Yeah, it's just like I want to be, my coach had always said, I want to be heard, not seen. Like, you are the one that is going to be competing. He's like, you'll hear my voice when you're coming off the turn of pick up your feet. You'll hear me. But it's like, I don't want to take away the, from what you're doing and make it about me. And so it's like, it can take a special type of person to want to be able to do all that.
I think so, yeah. And in the community of coaches in the world of track and field, a lot of people don't know is a lot of these coaches jump on group calls. They talk to each other. They kind of help each other along the way, how to coach certain type of athletes. RIP to Brooks Johnson, who was like the OG coach, where a lot of them jumped on the calls and listened to what he would say and helped them along the way. And he grew people like Dennis and John Smith to be the coaches that they are today as well, man.
Yeah. For you, I mean, you mentioned Coach Holloway having a big influence. Looking back at your career, whether it's as a a high schooler or whatever, who would you say was the coach that had the most influence on you when you were like, yeah, this is my favorite, the best coach that I've ever had at any level, really?
Vince Anderson. Vince Anderson. I mean, I grew as an athlete, as a person along the way, and I think every coach that was in my life, he represented an aspect of my life and grew me to the athlete I am today. But Vince really kind of woke me to what being an elite athlete was. He always would tell me, you're Michael Jordan, you're Muhammad Ali. Like, not in the aspect of like the athleticism, but like understanding what it takes to be great and seizing the moments when it matters the most. So listening to him, and he would literally put his hands on my shoulders right before a race and be like, you got this, you can do this. Mm-hmm. Like from a movie, you know?
Yeah.
And he poured into me so much that to this day, anybody that you know has associated themselves with Vince Anderson, no matter what school he's been at, they love Vince. They're like, man, Vince is my dude. So yeah. Vince, shout out to Vince, man. Love you always, bro. Thank you so much for what you've done for me and the world of track and field.
Yeah, it seems like to get to that next level, you have to have that certain, I don't know, if you don't believe in it yourself, you're never going to get there. And so it seems like, is that fair to say, where he kind of showed you like, no, you're not an outsider, you're one of the guys, you deserve to be in this final? Is that kind of what it sounded like he helped you notice that of yourself?
Absolutely, because you remember when I came into the sport at track and field as a collegiate, I was a hurdler. And he recruited me as a hurdler. He recruited me as a points guy. So, in the world of track and field collegiate, right? Points guy is like, you're not really good at one particular event, but you're kind of good at every event. Yeah. So I was good at long jump. I was a 24 feet, 11-inch long jumper. I was almost a 7-foot high jumper. I obviously do 300 hurdles. I was doing 110 hurdles. I could sprint. So he was like, yeah, you can come over here to Tennessee and do some scoring some points for us. And he saw me run at high school nationals, which I begged to run the 100. And he was like, whoa, like you ran like 10.3 in high school. He's like, yeah, we're going to turn you into a sprinter.
It sounds like you were Grant Holloway before Grant Holloway, like doing all these different events.
I see a lot of myself in Grant, and he has fun with what he does. And I love where he's trying to take his athleticism, even with Sydney, like, it seems like Sydney loves what she does. She's amazing, obviously, in the 400 hurdles, but she can do the 110. She can do the 100 hurdles. We're gonna see her do the 100. You know what I'm saying, this weekend. And I think that's what's missing at the elite level of our sport is the fact of, as you start in high school, you're doing multiple events. You're in college, you're doing multiple events, and then when you get to the professional level, it's like, no, you're only gonna do one event, maybe 2 events. You know what I mean? But you have these athletes have barrels of talent. If they don't get to show it, and I think now they can get opportunity to show it, like through Grant and through a Sydney.
Yeah, like you guys talked about it in your podcast with Grant of how he's looking to potentially, I believe you guys talked about it, like look into next year of doing something else of like, hey, we've done everything in the 60-meter hurdles. Like we don't need to prove ourselves in this anymore. Let's go try long jump. Let's go try this 400. Let's go try these other things. And it's nice to see some of these top level athletes. I mean, we saw it, recently with Fred Curley doing going from the 4 to the 1 and people changing things up that. Like, or with Trey Cunningham running a 10-1, and everyone's like, whoa, like what's going on? Like, people forget, like, no, these are the best athletes in the world. Like, of course they're going to run these crazy times or be able to jump out the gym,
Obviously, yeah. I mean, even with Keira Nugent running 11.0, you know what I mean? And being one of the best female short hurdlers out there. Watching her go out there and sprint, you're like, maybe you spend a little more time sprinting, you might be a real elite sprinter. So. Yeah. I think that's great for our sport because we always put these athletes in a box and say, you're a hurdler, you're a long jumper, you're this, you're that. And that's all we look at them as. And I think they bring so much more to the table, and it helps grow our sport to realize, like, let's mix and match. Let's see what they can really do.
Yeah, no, super talented people, and like you said, I think I'm really excited this weekend where we're going to be having Sydney in the 110, the 100 hurdles, and the 100, two events that are her offset. Like people are like she was blowing people out the water in these 400 hurdles, so it's like, hey, now you're going to be up against some real steppers, some people that are like going to push you to your limits. Like as you're top level athlete yourself, how do you think that like her mindset going into this is of, hey, you're going into uncharted territory right now?
I think obviously Sydney has loads of confidence and talent. But when you step into an environment that you're not used to, you're going to have a little insecurities of how to navigate through it, And I think knowing how she's approaching the 100 meters, she has to learn the nuances of the 100 meter, how to be able to have a drive phase, a seamless transition, work on her top end speed, and how to finish the race properly. Because she's not going to go out there looking to run sub 50 in the 100. She has to go out there and really get everything out, compete at a high level, know her race plan and strategy, all within a matter of hopefully sub 11.
Yeah, like it's be able to put everything together, and you're going to be tested throughout this time, because it's not going to be where you're just blowing people out the gates from the beginning, or you're on a stagger. Like you're lining up right next to these people, so you're going to hear them breathing, right down your backs the whole time. Like it's when you're sprinting, are you just blocking out everything on the sides, or could you tell like where people were, who's nervous, what the vibes are on that line right before you kind of lined up?
You can learn a person's race strategy, or if they're nervous, in the warm-up area, even before you get to the start line. It's a mental aspect that comes into the game of short sprinting that people don't realize. It's a mental warfare that goes into it. So watching certain athletes, and you'll sit across the track, the warm-up track, and watch, Usain or Johan warming up, or any other athlete warming up, and you're watching them saying, oh, they popping today. You know what I mean? Them steps are popping, them movements are crisp. Mm-hmm. But now it's like, I don't think a lot of those athletes pay attention to that. So when they get to the line, it's like, they're just there to run. But it's almost like being a goalie in soccer. You have to pick left or right. The ball's moving too fast to say, okay, I think I'm going to go left, but I'm really going to go right. You have to let your race pattern unfold. Everything you worked on weeks leading up to this race, you have to stick to your race strategy, because that's what's going to get you to be successful in that race.
I feel like, and that's something that's super, like, a lot easier said than done too, of like, because it can be really difficult, I could imagine, where it's, hey, you're 40 meters in, you're not where, or somebody's 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. I think back to the 2024 Olympic final 100 meters. Noah Lyles was behind to begin with for a little bit, and I could imagine for many athletes, it's got to be pretty tough to let me stick to what I'm doing and not worry about these other people, and just trust that everything I've practiced on for the last 4 years is going to lead to me coming in first, versus like, screw it, I'm just going to go after it and potentially mess it all up.
It's super hard. I mean, you go back to the story in 2011 of Usain, where he was so worried about having a better start that he went out there and false started, right? Mm-hmm. But then he realized after that point, why? I'm still leading the pack at 20 meters. If I'm not leading the pack at 20 meters, I'm crushing the field by 50 meters, and I'm coming across the finish line first. You don't have to be the best starter in the world to be the greatest finisher, right? Yeah. So I think I also learned that along the way going into 2017. I realized I was giving away too much in the beginning and putting a target on my back. If I kind of just evened out my energy across 100 meters, I can get out with the field. I still have that top end speed, and I can be able to finish great.
Is that something that you would talk through with your coaches at the time, or are you just kind of internalizing that of be like, hey, I'm giving up too much, and just hoping that your coach makes some changes in strategy, or is that purely, hey, coach is going to make that decision for me and I'm just going to kind of roll with it?
Communication is the key. I think when you get to a certain level of being a great athlete, you have a bond that you create with your coach, mm-hmm. and you really can be straight up with him, or he be straight up with you and be like, Coach, I mean, I'm hemorrhaging at 20 meters to go, right? Like, what do I do? And at that point in time, it was a unique situation for us, because I'm beating 99% of the world, except for one person that is catching me with 20 meters to go. You know what I mean? So I had to change my whole game strategy. And it's a blow to your ego sometimes, because you realize, like, everything I did to get me to this point was successful. Now I have to reinvent myself and create a different race strategy for me to be successful at an even higher level.
Yeah, I mean, you competed in a wide, a lot of different generations of like, to put it nicely.
I bridged the gap.
Exactly, bridge the gap. Like
Yeah.
when people think of like LeBron, they're like, yeah, LeBron was playing with Del Curry and Steph Curry almost. So,
Yeah.
like things like that. It's like you're competing. Did you ever compete against someone's like kid? I don't know if there's any children that you had raced up against where hey, they were both at the top level.
Close.
Okay.
What funny thing is, when I was in college, I actually competed against Dennis Mitchell, who turned out to be my coach later on, right? And
great.
till this day, he'll be like, man, the only time me and Justin ever raced, I whooped his tail, man. So he'll be like, I'm 1-0. I'm undefeated against Justin, but I'm out here teaching him how to beat everybody else in the world. So he totes himself on that, bro.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, it comes a long way, and I think what I pride myself on is I learned how to evolve in our sport, right? You have to grow. You have to be better, because once you become the top dog, the target goes from in front of you to behind you, meaning like it's on your back. So people are learning how to beat you. People are learning what your race strategy is. And those athletes like Trayvon Bromell, who would sit there and say, man, I watched all your races on YouTube before I go to school. And he was like, I was like, well, what grade were you in? He was like, man, I was like in like 5th grade. I'm like, man, I was winning Olympic gold medal and winning championships when you still was in grade school. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, but now here we are. We was banging heads against each other, going out there and running for like medals and running for fast times. But that's our sport, man. Our sport is you can be here today, and then if you work hard at it, you can be at the top of the podium tomorrow.
I mean, how did you see over the years of the culture within track and field or sprinting just kind of change? I mean, starting in the 2000s into, you competed into the 2020s. And so, definitely a long career of how did things kind of change that you noticed since you were, in your career?
Technology across the board, man. I mean, I remember just going out there and just running. Coach would have a stopwatch, and that would be the advance of technology in our sport. And when I got with Dennis, he was breaking down the 100 meters by every 10-meter segment, and to a point where you can predict exactly how fast you're going to run. So every time I got to the starting line, I knew I was in 9.8 shape. I knew I was in 9.7 shape because we worked on it at practice. And now technology is even taken to a whole new level, obviously with the shoes and with different modalities like the 1080 people are using to help them become faster. And now I think you're going to see where sprinting and track and field as a whole is going to take it to another level. I mean, you see it with the high school kids. I mean, we used to watch one-off high school kids like a Allison or a Sanya go out there and just be amazing in the youth space. But now it's like you have a whole field of young athletes who are changing the game.
That's exactly I was gonna go into now. Just like the term trackflation is coming around. It's like the word of 2024, 2025 within track and field. We've got 3 or 4 high schoolers right now sub 10, including one that ran a 982. Windy, but still your body had to move that fast anyway. And I feel like when I was in high school in 2015, when I was graduating, there was Trayvon Bromell the year before me, who was like the first sub 10, ran 999, and that was insane. It was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? This is crazy. Now it's like, if you don't run sub 10, it's like people don't care about you anymore. This is crazy, I feel, right? What's going on?
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. I mean, you're watching these athletes, and I think it's also the fact of a lot of these young athletes are doing more advanced workouts, and it's getting them to that level to where they can run sub-10s, right? Which is amazing because now we're pushing the sport forward. So for me, it's going to be a give and take. So if these athletes are running faster, what's going to be their plateau once they turn pro? Because you have people like Tate Taylor, who is an amazing athlete. I watched him grow in the last 2 years, and he grew to him running 992, when legal, and slowing down to the finish line, running 2015, you know what I mean, in the 200. But what does it look like for him in the future, 5, 6, 7 years from now? You know what I mean? Are we looking at an athlete who can run 9.7 or 9.6? Is that where we're going? And now it's putting the pressure on the professional coaches to be able to make more intricate workouts and more scientific based workouts to have those athletes reach those obtainable times that we look at as mind blowing,
Yeah, it feels like it's getting more professionalized in high school, and even in middle school we'll be seeing times and people doing things that it used to be. Hey, like the Texas State Championship almost looked like the U.S. Championship just a few years ago. Like kids are running these crazy times. I mean, you talked about, hey, what does it look like in 7, 8 years from now? I mean, I think back to a couple of the first like big prodigies that we saw in high school, and not all of them pan out of like where it's, hey, you run really fast in high school and then you're not always the top dog, going in for one reason or another. Do you think that trend is something that could continue, or are these kids training in a different way than, back in 2015 when we were seeing these prodigies? It's a little different.
I think the trend's going to keep going in that same pattern. I mean, because it's making high school coaches look like superstars. It's making high school athletes look like superstars. So why would they want to say, well, let's throttle back a little bit? Now they're going to put the pressure on those college coaches to make those athletes who ran phenomenal times in high school, run even faster or stay consistent in that same realm. And then it's going to make those professional coaches say, hey, hold on, I train professional athletes that run the same time as high school kids now. So we got to be able to push the envelope even more at the top.
Yeah, we're seeing, with the emergence of NIL and these, people, signing and, all these crazy offers out of high school and in college. We had a couple. I mean, we had Quincy Wilson who signed NIL as a sophomore in high school. Like there's more money right now in the sport and more names and things going around. I mean, I think in one of your recent podcasts you talked about, hey, I think it was with Grant, if you were coming up in these eras, it might look a little bit different for you. Like if you were growing up, hey, you're a high school junior right now, what do you think your life would have potentially looked like if you were coming up nowadays?
Man, I would say even tougher. I think these kids have it tough. I mean, for us, it was just the essence of just running track and field, competing at a level to where we were having fun. I mean, you look at someone like Quincy, like he's a rock star. He's like LeBron James or young Michael Jackson. Like people love seeing him. People love witnessing what he can do. But every time he steps on the track, we think that he's going to perform at a level that's very Usain Bolt-esque at his level. Mm-hmm. We're thinking like, oh man, he should be running 44.2 all the time. You know what I mean? I mean, he's a high school kid. He's young. Let him have fun. You know what I'm saying? Let him go out there and create the magic that we want to see him, not at just 16, but what is he going to do at 26? Mm-hmm. That's what we're looking for. I think what's going to happen, and we're gonna label this.
Okay.
Micro careers where you're going to have these young athletes from high school who are going to have, because of NIL as well, they're going to get paid at a young age to be like these glorified poster childs for Brooks, New Balance, Nike, Adidas, and they may not pan out to be the professional athletes that we think they can be 10 years down the road. They may have just a career that lasts 6, 7, 8 years. You know what I mean? Maybe 2 Olympic cycles. But their career is going to be amazing because it's like we're going to be in awe of these young prodigies that's going to come up.
Yeah, I've heard from a few people that once you go like sub 10, it's like there's like a clock, internal clock, or your body feels a little different. I mean, could you kind of explain, like share with like what that body feels like after like a 974, like that recovery from something like that? And do you think that's true of like, hey, once you go sub 10, it's like, hey, there's only a certain amount of these that you really get, or is that kind of you're not in that camp?
No, it is. It's true. I mean, 2 things happen. Muscle memory kicks in to where it remembers that it ran that fast. So now you can train at a higher level to be able to consistently start to run that fast again. And then after running that fast, your body feels thrashed. It feels beat up. It feels like you've been in like a car wreck or something like that. So you're sore from head to toe. And I think a lot of these young athletes who are trying to obtain these fast times, they have to also consider being more diligent with their recovery. Because I've been to high school track meets. These kids walk around in their track shorts. And I'm like, bro, like, put your pants on, put your jackets on, keep your body warm, keep your muscles ready to go. And these kids just out here just already in their track gear the moment they step out onto the track. And they may run an hour, 2 hours later, and they're still in their same gear, you know?
Yeah, and then they'll run. Then let's go to McDonald's and let me go sleep. No warm ups, no cool down track, just straight to it. And
yeah,
so
exactly.
It comes, I guess, like kind of like the Spider-Man quote of like, with great power comes great responsibility. It's like, hey, with great speed comes great responsibility, not only from yourself as an athlete, but it seems like your camp around you. Like, do you have a coach that knows how to work with you with somebody that has that speed? Like, hey, if you have a Ferrari. Yeah, that car goes fast, but if you don't know how to handle it right, then it could crash and burn quickly, and it's not going to be as helpful as if you don't have that experience.
Every coach is learning the next level in real time. And what I mean by that is, when I started to run my 9.7s, I had a real talk with Dennis, and he was like, "I've never had an athlete run 9.7. Tell me what it feels like. Tell me what's going on with your body." How can we keep you consistent in that level? So we came together and communicated at a high level, so then we can keep that consistency going. If a coach comes, the only coach I know has ever said, "I have a workout that can get an athlete to this level. I just need that athlete," is Bobby Kersey, and in walks Sydney.
There you go. Yeah. It ended up working. Like, okay, I need an athlete that can do this. Oh, perfect. We got exactly who you need. Exactly who you need. And so, I quickly wanted to take it a little bit back off the track. We mentioned, illustrious track and field sprinting career, but now transitioned out of the track, but still in the track and field world. With Ready, Set, Go. Could you share, like, how did that come to fruition? Because I feel like for me, when I saw the news, when you broke, like, hey, we're gonna start this. I went to all my track and field group chats. We're like, "Yo, you see this going on? Like, this is massive." Because there's not a lot of track and field stars, or really, and you really kind of began it, that have like a media podcast to go to where you can hear what's going on. So how did that all begin for you?
I'll keep it 100, man. I mean, I was with this PR team, and it just so happens that they was like, "Hey, this podcast company called Title League wants to work with you and create a podcast." And then I parted ways with the PR team, so it kind of just was floating for a while. I reached out to Title League, and it was like, "Man, we've been trying to get in contact with you personally for like 2 months." And I was like, "Well, here I am. What do you want to do?" And it was like, "Let's create a podcast that's in your realm, that's going to be able to be like one of the best." I was like, "Under one condition. I'm able to have a co-host." And it was like, at first they were like, let's see how it goes. So I was like, "All right, I'm going to call up my guy, Rod, and we're going to go to dinner. He's going to meet the whole Title League team. And after that dinner, they looked at me and says, 'You were 100% right. He is the guy that you need on your team for the podcast.'" And organically, me and Rod just mesh. Like, obviously, we've been training partners since like 2011 or something like that. And he at one point in time in my career, he actually was my coach as well. He taught me so much about timing and understanding, if I run this time in the 120, this means that it computes to a 9.7 in the 100. Like, he had an understanding that I didn't have, and he taught me that. And he became the godfather of my kids. And we just grew in a way to where it was organic. And so when we sat down with the podcast, it was like, let's just do it like we do it on your couch, bro. Like, let's just talk about track. Let's be real about it, and let's see exactly where it goes. And that's how it started.
Yeah, you guys have great chemistry of bouncing off, and it makes it easier. Like, because if you have someone like, "Oh, we're forcing it," it's not a good chemistry back and forth. It's just not going to go well. And I think definitely better than just having solo. Because I tried doing the solo podcast thing.
It's hard, bro.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Like, it's like, I'm just talking to this camera. I'm just looking forward, talking to the camera for 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, that's it. See you later.
But it's also good to have someone there that you can bounce certain topics off, because they'll have a different perspective on it. And there'll be times where me and Rod agree 100% on certain things. There'll be times that we disagree on certain things. And it lives well. You know what I'm saying? It lives well. So I'm glad we made that decision of having like a co-host. And I always push the narrative because he's that kind of guy. He's really humble. And he's like, man, I'm just going to do it because this is what you want, man. I want to be accountable for you. And I was like, man, I'm trying to build that persona for you because I know that you have a star inside of you. You know what I mean? So we created the Bearded Wonder. It stuck. You laugh about it to this day, man. So I was talking to Trayvon the other day. He was like, man, yeah, I went out there and ran my 992 or 991 he just ran. And he's like, man, I saw the Bearded Wonder. He was standing over there. I came over, gave him love, some dap. And he was like, he stopped in the middle of the conversation. He was like, what's the Bearded Wonder's name? Real name? I was like, Rod. He was like, man. I was like, at that point in time, I was like, yes, that means the Bearded Wonder stuck.
That means it's good. That means it's good. That's how you know you got a good nickname. When people are like, I don't even know your real name, man. What is it? Yeah, that's how you know it's good. That's how you know it's good. And so, I mean, with that, you had what I would say easily the biggest, most anticipated podcast of the year, especially within track and field. Usain Bolt, two of the biggest names in the history of track and field, who you two competed against each other multiple times. How did that come to fruition? Could you share how it kind of went down?
I'm a big believer on timing is everything, right? We could have started the podcast and went straight for Usain as the first episode, right? And I knew that wasn't going to hit because I know how track and field is. Track and field is a kind of sport where everyone kind of sits back for a moment and watches how everything goes and says, okay, cool, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? Because we've done it with track meets for so long. New track meets show up and everyone's reluctant to be a part of that track meet. And then all of a sudden, the next year, everyone's banging on the door to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Perfect example. Grand Slam. At first, people were like, is it work? Is it not going to work? You know what I mean? Now everybody's like, I want to jump in and be a part of it. Mm-hmm. So that's how it was for RSG. It was, timing was everything. We started off very organic. We started kind of like bringing on certain guests and talking to them, and then people were loving the space. And then one day I got a DM from Bolt, and he was like, when you going to have me on the pod? I was like, tomorrow. So literally got with the crew. Yeah. We said, hey, Bolt's a go. So we jumped on the plane, headed down to Miami. We met him there, sat down to the pod. When he walked in the door, now mind you, we've never been in close spaces outside of just competing with each other. So when he walked in, it was like we looked at each other like two dogs. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like I'm in the call room or again.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like. And then when we both realized it was none of that, it was just straight love. We just sat down and created magic together, man. It was a great podcast. We could have talked for 2 hours. He had to get on a flight, so it was amazing. So hopefully come back on the show soon, man.
Come back. No, that was a great one. I mean, it was. I listened every second of that one. Like, that was amazing because he doesn't do a ton of like podcast media things, or at least especially up to then. So I was like, oh man, like not only are we getting an appearance from the greatest sprinter to do it, like we have the two of the greatest sprinters to like ever be able to touch the track that are in the media space and both know like how to go through with a good conversation and how you guys are running up against each other. So that was a phenomenal one. Looking forward to having him back. So are there any other athletes that you look at, you're like, okay, these are people that we may are interested in having a good conversation with? You think it would be a good thing to have?
Man, I mean, there's so many great stories in track and field, so many great personas. I think it's just all about, like I said before, about the timing. Like obviously getting Noah on at some point in time. Love to get Noah's mom on as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's certain aspects of our sport that we see, but we never really dive into, like momagers. You know what I mean? Or how parents are a part of our influence sometimes, because when you're a young athlete. So for her, I think she would be a great, sit down, because she knows her son, and she knows how to make her son great. But she also relinquishes to obviously his agent, his coach, and let them create magic together. But she makes sure that she takes her son, who she knows who is her son, down that path of staying successful.
Yeah, it's got to be tough, I could imagine, with like if you're the mother of an elite athlete, of especially, I mean, we saw in 2024 at the Olympics, he goes down with COVID, and like I could imagine, right after that 200, as a mom, like as a parent, it's like if you see, oh, my kid is like struggling right now, I just want to go in and hold them and everything, but it's the Olympics. You can't just like get out the stands and go down. This isn't just like an AAU meet. You can't just do that. Like I can imagine there's got to be a lot of got to be crazy things that you're fighting through as a parent when you're seeing something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the same thing is we want to be able to pay homage to the legends that paved the way for us as well. Like let's go talk to Valerie Briscoe. Let's go talk to like how we did with Gail Devers. Her story was amazing. Her story actually made me shed a tear while we were filming, because the struggles that she went through to even just stay on the track, like it showed how much love, how much passion she had for the craft, and she was relentless. She didn't want to give up on it. She could easily just said, I'm done with track and field. My body's not going to hold up, and I've done all I can do. I'm going to move on to something else, but she stuck to it and got back at it.
Yeah. I'm curious for you. I mean, you had a lot of obstacles that you had gone through within your career. Did you ever have one of those moments where you're just sitting down, looking at the mirror, like, is track and field really for me?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, through everything I've been through in my career, right? But also the fact of, I think as an athlete, when you're used to winning, and then losing becomes a new thing you have to kind of navigate through. So when I turned pro, I went from college where I was winning 6 NCAA individual titles, 2 team championships, SECs, all these things, and I knew what winning felt like. And then when I turned pro, it was like these guys came out hazing. Like they were like, all right, young boy. And I'm literally like watching Asafa Powell, Maurice Green's back as they come across the finish line in the Olympic campaign of 2004. So I remember in Berlin in that same year, I got like 5th in a race. I've never been 5th in a race before. And I remember just sitting in the bottom of the tub and the showers just drenching me. And I'm just sitting there like, man, this is crazy. Like, am I really here for track and field? Am I good enough to be at this level? And then I was like, you have to seize the moment. And that's what it's all about. So these young athletes that are out here, man, you're winning all the time and success is something that's normal for you. Always be prepared for what loss is going to be like, or it's going to feel like, you know what I mean? And turn that loss into a lesson, because that's going to actually grow you more than just always the wins.
What would you say, turning a loss into a lesson, looking back at your career, is there any specific, everyone will talk about, I'm sure, the highest of highs of, what did 2004 feel like? What was it like to win the Olympic gold medal? What about on the other side? Was there any specific loss in your career? Maybe it was that Berlin one where it really had an impact on turning that loss into a lesson and how you were going to go move forward.
I feel like my biggest loss, well, I have a couple in the tank. I'll speak on 2. First was still in 2004. I'm the hottest thing for Nike at that point in time. I remember going to Prefontaine, and they had my face on the whole side of a building. Like I'm looking like at my face, I'm like, whoa. And then I get into the race at Prefontaine, I get 7th. And I come across that line like, I am a flop. That's what I felt like, right? So I go up to like Cap's corner and I'm apologizing to Cap and Lou and the Nike crew. I'm like, man, I'm so sorry, man. I'm gonna do better next time. You know what I mean? Seeing myself bigger than life, right, was like an experience I never had before, right? And I had to get used to that feeling. And then after that, like I was like, all right, cool. Like this is how they see me. I have to see myself that same way. Mm-hmm. So after that, I always made sure that my preparation for those racing competitions was at a super high. Like I had to be more consistent with being successful. My second story is 2015, man, losing the Bolt. Like going through that whole season of running like 9-7 after 9-7 and then getting into the semis and running 9-7, slowing on the finish line and getting to the finals and just running stride for stride with Usain and then missing out on getting on top of that podium at the last, second. And remember coming across that finish line, it was just feeling surreal. Like you see me And I'm like smiling, like, ah. I knew that it was going to be mortifying to go through that whole media gauntlet because I was dubbed and picked to win, and I'm usually that clutch athlete, and I wasn't that clutch athlete on that day.
Yeah, I can imagine of like, hey, taking that and then how do you go, like, then having to talk to people you don't want to. I'm sure if it was up to you, I'm sure it would have been like, all right, I'm just going to go right to my hotel. I'm going to go home. I'm not going to talk to all these people. But it's like, no, I got to go through this media for probably, dang near an hour, if not more, like that you have to go through and talk, and you're answering the exact same question over and over again. People like me that were probably asking just like that. So I'm sure it probably would have been like, man, not something I'm really excited for.
I'm leaving the competition track and I'm about to walk up that whole little stairs of that gauntlet to the media, and I'm thinking in my mind like, all right, what is going to be my generic answer? And it always panned out to be, well, it just wasn't my day. Usain is a great athlete. You got to give praise to the athletes that go out there and get the job done, right? But you also have to be that individual that says, I can bounce back from this. But inside, you're like dying. You know what I mean? Because you knew you were prepared for that moment. And you didn't realize that faltering in that moment was going to be seen by probably half of the world, So I had to be able to kind of navigate myself through that. And once I got in that service car to go back to the hotel, man, I cried like a baby, dog. But it wasn't the fact that I lost to Usain. It was the fact that I had the moment to win. It just wasn't my time to win. I realized that later on.
Yeah, and I mean, then eventually you did get a win. I mean, the famous image of you bowing down to Bolt. And I know you all talked about that in the show. And so did that kind of feel like, got some redemption story arc, coming after that before both of you ended up hanging up the spikes later.
I think most athletes, especially in that time period, because Usain was so dominant. People are like, man, if I ever got a chance to beat Usain, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to show out, right? I'm going to jump in the stands. I was one of those guys too. But then I realized when I came across that finish line first, the magnitude of me racing and preparing against Usain and winning in that moment, it grew me as an athlete. It grew me as a person because, like I said before, like I had to prepare for that 1%. And he was at 1%. I had to change so much of my race strategy. I had to succumb to the fact of, yeah, I'm good, but to be better, I have to relinquish being just the best starter in the world. I have to be able to finish that race in a way to where I can get on top of that podium.
Yeah, and with Usain Bolt in your guys' podcast, something that I heard and that I was super excited to think about. I mean, recently we've been seeing a lot of the celebrity boxing, or the Mike Tyson coming out of retirement, going up against Jake Paul. You guys talked about, hey, could we line it up again? Maybe it's you, Usain Bolt, Tyson Gay. I'm sure there's a Asafa Powell. I'm sure there's the list go on and on. You guys brought that up. Has there been any conversations? Is that a possibility? And is that something that you guys would actually want to do? Because I think that's something we haven't seen it in track and field, where with legends of yesteryear, coming back out and doing it again. I feel it would probably be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, races outside of an Olympic 100 final.
I mean, I've sat down and talked to Asafa first, obviously. And Asafa talked to Tyson. Tyson said he's cool with it. Asafa was cool with it. I'm cool with it. I think our last frontier was making sure that Bolt was cool with it, right? And obviously, he was on record saying, yeah, we can do it, man. So I think now it's about the preparation of leading up to it and how we want to kind of lay it out. I believe the fact of not just taking the fact that we all were we are legendary sprinters in our sport, but filming the process leading up to it, right? Because we're definitely well beyond our years of sprinting, right? And it's going to show that the grueling process of even just getting back into shape enough to be able to compete. And also all of us being fathers, and balancing a life of retirement, but also trying to capture that moment of eliteness one more time. Mm-hmm. So anybody out there that want to be able to take on a couple of old guys that want to race against each other and the world wants to see, let us know. You know what I mean? Dubai, Doha, Middle East, let us know, man. We know you got the finance to do so, so we ready to go, man. I think that we can do it to a point where it's almost like a heavyweight bout. All of us coming out in kind of robes have our theme music play, and line it back up for one more race.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them do it with Mondo and Warholm. They did the 100, so we know that it can be done. I mean, shoot, Grand Slam. Why don't we can have that next year, whatever it is, at the last race, the last 100, close out the meet, something like that. I mean, it's one where I think that it would be something everyone would love to go out and be able to see. Of like, hey, let's see the greatest sprinters in the history of the world, like in the same generation-esque of what it is. Like, we can get one more title shot. Let's see what it is.
I try to get people to understand like how special the fact of like all top 5 were in the same era. I mean, even lower. I mean, you have Nestor Carter, you know, who were in the same era as well. So we all were. It wasn't like, oh, Carl Lewis was in between us or Mo Green was in between us. Like, we all were in that same era. We all competed. We all were lined up at that Olympic finals, you know? So it made it truly special for the world of sprinting to make that happen. You know, and we had a great lineup in 2024, you know, of all those guys, and bar none, all of them came across the line, sub 10. But I don't think anything can amount to the legacy that 2012 really put together.
Yeah, just an incredible lineup. And I mean, we know, was it Asafa that he didn't finish? If he had finished it, was that?
Yeah, he pulled his groin. Yeah.
So it's like, if he goes through, that it's like that it would have been still the fastest, final or 100 that we would have seen.
100%.
So, yeah. So right now we're here in Philadelphia for Grand Slam. Excited for that. Going to be a lot of great track and field coming up. This Franklin Field, I guess, play a little special part in your heart. I know this was your first. I think in 2006, your first race in the U.S. back at Penn Relays, and U.S. versus the world. You were a key contributor on that USA versus the world. So how's it feel to be back at Franklin Field and watching a different thing? Not Penn Relays. This is Grand Slam coming through.
Oh, amazing! I mean, Franklin Field holds a really significant part of my career. Right? It's obviously not a World Championships or the Olympics, but it's a culture thing. Like, you can go all the way back to like the 70s and the 80s. Like, Penn Relays is a big thing, and having it at Franklin Field is a big thing. From college running here, turning pro, USA versus the world running here, it almost feels like track and field's like all-star, you know what I mean, weekend, or same thing with the football, world. Like, you have that moment to where you see the best of the best on the field all at the same time, and it's relay component and not necessarily one-off races. It felt so special, and it was like always a kickoff for the serious part that came to your season. So I always had fun here, man. Had a lot of good memories.
Yeah, it feels like with the regular season, you talked about, hey, this kind of kicks off the regular season. One thing that as an athlete or as a fan of the sport, it's kind of hard with track and field, because like, people don't really care that much, viewers of the regular season. They'll be like, I want to watch you run a really fast time, but the wins and losses don't. Like, people, like, I'll say, oh, this person lost. Be like, yeah, it's early, there's so much time. Be like, well, if you don't care about the regular season, how can I try to make you care about the regular season? I feel like Grand Slam is making people care. And then, Athletes, with their announcement of what's happening in 2026, it's starting to make people actually care what happens in the regular season. And it's finally changing, which I think is a good thing for the sport.
I mean, you look at what our sport consists of when it comes to the athletes and how our sport is set up, it's a mismatch. Like, our sport has been ran like almost like tennis or golf. Very posh, very white glove. And the sport consists of young athletes who look at themselves as rock stars, right? So give them that environment to where they can show their persona, they can go out and jump around, they can listen to the music, all that kind of stuff, because it really caters to young athletes. And that's how it should be represented. Now, with Athos coming out with the team concept, the stuff that we talked about before, like, bring out a whole different realm of track and field that people want to see. It's going to bring in new spectators, and it's going to, I think, revitalize the passion of older spectators who want to see something different too in our sport.
Yeah, it's like change it up of like, it's all people care about. Hey, there's 2 races that you only have to be good at 2 meets for track and field for people to care at all. You need to be able to get out of, if you're from the U.S. 2. If you're not from the U.S., then it's 1. It's the Olympic final. Other than that, but for the U.S., it's U.S. trials and then the Olympics. And so I think this is bring in more fans, because it's like if you're trying to capitalize on your big name, like unless you're winning Olympic gold medals, then you're not going to be able to have this big stardom. I think Sha'Carri becoming a big star before she had won her, or not Olympic gold, but world championship is unique. But it's like when you have these stories, I think, Kenny Bednarek is a great example of someone building his name, especially over these last few meets in Grand Slam, where he's already brought home, $200,000 already? Like, yeah. That's what's making these people larger than life, I feel.
Yeah, man. I mean, they're getting, especially like Kenny. When Kenny first came from Indian Hills, you know what I'm saying, college, and he knew nothing about the professional aspect of track and field. Mm-hmm. And I had the opportunity to watch him grow as a training partner, and then looking where he's at now, he's so confident because he was able to grow his persona and be the person he desires to be, not just a lane or a guy that's gonna have a camera on him for 9 seconds or 19 seconds and you just wave to the crowd and now you're done. He's able to grow a persona and create Kung Fu Kenny with the headbands and what they mean to him. And that fuels his persona. And that helps other athletes realize I can be me out there. And that's what our sport needs. Our sport doesn't operate off of 2 halves or 4 quarters. You only get to see these athletes in short sprints for a couple of seconds and in distance for a couple of minutes. And then after that, they're off the field and you're on to the next event. So allow these athletes to be able to show who they are, and that's how they're going to gain more followers. That's how they're going to gain more attraction, and it's going to inspire the next generation to say, I'm a rock star, I'm this kind of person, and this is what I want to show when I step on the track.
Yeah, and we're seeing that now, with the emergence of social media and everything, of hey, everyone's posting hey, right when they're finishing out their races, or hey, let's do a behind the scenes of what my training is like. The behind the scene training videos do numbers now of oh, I'd love to see, how does Quincy Wilson prepare for a race? How does Noah Lyles prepare for a race? How does this all happen? And get to know who they are. Sprint, that documentary that they had, all of these things can show who they are outside of the 10 seconds that you know them. This is who they are for the other 23 hours and 59 minutes and 50 seconds, who they are outside the track.
We need that hard knocks concept that shows the athlete, it shows who they are, because we never had that in our era. You know what I mean? It was just get on the track, battle it out, and then now you're gone, right? So I'm happy they're doing that now, right? And people always ask me man, do you feel slighted that the world of track and field is changing now, or did you wish that you had Grand Slam when you was running? Absolutely, yes. Do I feel slighted? No. Because I saw this coming. I saw the evolution of track and field coming soon. And I just said, you know what? I would just love to be a part of the growth, where it's going to go, the next phase of track and field. And the future's looking bright now.
Yeah, it's hey, I might not have been a part of it, but you definitely played a part of, hey, would Grand Slam or would these other leagues be where they are right now had you not done what you did when you did it? Who knows? Maybe they're not going to see, oh, there's potential, but it's no, when we build this out, oh no, there is that chance for
Absolutely, man. I mean, and that's what we do on RSG, is the fact of we don't have the finances to create, a Grand Slam or AFLOS, but the idea is free. So the people out there who do have those finances and able to have that time to create these specialized track meets, do it. Because if we put it in the ether, it's going to create something special, and that's where we're going now.
You said with Grand Slam, which athlete or which race or rivalry would you say are you most looking forward to this weekend? Which, if you were to pin, this is the race to watch. These are the people to watch. What would you have?
Man, I love seeing Gabby going from the different levels, from the 2-4 to down to the 1-2. Now you have Sydney, who's going in from the 100 hurdles to the 100. Love to see her and Tia go at it, in the short hurdles. Let's see what that's going to be made of. And for whatever reason, I love watching the 400 guys go at it, because watching Matthew Hudson Smith in the first Grand Slam in Jamaica. He did an amazing job. Came home with a $100,000 check, and Jareen was like, I think maybe fifth or something like that in Jamaica. And then Jareen bounced back and won everything, got the $100,000 check in Miami. And he told the world, he's like, I wasn't ready for Jamaica. I didn't feel up to par, but I'm here now. And I think when you look at how these guys and ladies are running, and they're doing the doubles, like back to back, these same athletes that are going to go to their nationals and then run other races after their nationals and go on to worlds, they're going to be in a different type of shape that I think we've seen. Because Kenny's never been in this shape now that he is now. Like running the world lead this early and then going out there and almost running 9.7. This double is something special. I think that a lot of people are going to try to hone in on next year.
Yeah, it's we haven't seen it very much, and you can tell the difference of the athletes that are doing Grand Slam right now, the times they're running versus the times of athletes that aren't in Grand Slam right now. It's like it's different, which makes sense because they're doing 2 races in 2 days and they've done it a few times versus for a really big amount of money versus some others that might just be kicking the rust off. Like you're going to see a little bit of a difference, and so I'm wondering, it's as this grows out and it becomes a yearly thing. All right, now how are training cycles going to look when it's like, okay, I don't only have to peak for this, I have to be ready for these 4 slams because there's a lot of money on the line for me to be able to go.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the world of track and field, has changed so much. Obviously, from COVID has pushed everything and made it more condensed. And you had championship after championship after championship. For us, it was like Olympics every 4 years, World Championships every 2 years, and you had an off year. They went from Olympics to World Championships to World Championships to the Olympics to World Championships. At first, I was like, man, these athletes are going to make so much money, so much success in like a 5-year span. And now you find a lot of them are like, I am tired. Yeah. I am tired. So, you want to see them do well, but also have time to rest their mind and their body and their spirit so they can come back and compete at a high level and kind of take their career a little longer. I spoke to a lot of athletes who we love to watch, and they're like, 2028 might be my last year. Because they're like, man, I've done so much in the last 5 years. I'm ready to kind of just see how I could just go to the next level in life.
You talked about the longevity of a career and how people can take it longer. We mentioned like you've had a very long career, going till 2021. I wanted to take you back to that race, the Kip Keino Classic in Kenya, right? That was, the last race that you had put the spikes on. Did you know going into that race that this is going to be my last one? Or because I know you announced your retirement right around your birthday later that year, or was it then that you kind of figured out this is what it's going to look like?
I knew that was going to be my last race. It wasn't actually supposed to be my last race.
Yeah.
I was supposed to finish up like Bellazona, right? Where I just went to the last race and I didn't even win that race. Either Fred Curley or Andre DeGrasse won. But the fanfare I got from it was the hotel was like 300 meters away from the track. It took me like 2 hours to get from the track to the hotel. And it was just so much love. And I got that same reception in Kip Keino in Nairobi. And I was just happy to be somewhere where I'd never been in my whole career, which was in Kenya. Being somewhere new, somewhere exciting, going on safari, seeing a lion in person outside of a cage. Like for me, that was the exciting part. Like I've done so many races and running that race and the way it unfolded, I was like, yep, it's my time to retire. It was my time to retire. Trayvon did an amazing job at that race. It's same thing with Omiyala. He, hometown hero, ran a great time as well. So I knew that it was time for me to push away from the table. Not because I couldn't race anymore. It was just a fact of the passion that I had at a high level, it started to dissipate. And I think it actually started through COVID for me. Like not being able to go out and travel the world and being cooped up and not running on tracks. We were doing jogs and bicycling on, gravel and running around retention ponds for workouts. It just took a toll on me. And it put me in a place where it almost felt like depression. And I didn't know where I was going to go next. And I know I'm already an older athlete. And I was like, well, I don't know what the business side looked like, if my contract was going to be renewed at a level that I thought it was respectable. And I said, you know what? I want to go out on my own accord. And that's where I said, ready, time to go out.
There you go. Yeah, I know in soccer they have the term like, hey, leave the football before the football leaves you. It's like, hey, like let me go out let me leave the track and not be kicked off the track where I'm not qualifying. They don't want me at meets anymore. It's like, no, this is where I wanted to head out, and it's on my terms, and be able to control that. I did really want to see you run that sub 10 at 40 though. I was like, when I heard you do, I was like, no, would have been great because could get that with the master, the world record there. I think Carl Lewis might have had it or something.
Oh, I think no, man.
Was it someone else?
At 40, it's Kim Collins.
Kim Collins.
Yes. So I think my last race I ran 9:98 or something like that at the trials. And Kim's is like 9:94, 9:97 or something like that. So I was really close. He actually reached out to me and was like, I appreciate you not breaking my record. I was like, man, I mean, you got it, man. To run that time at that age, it takes a whole different type of athlete, whole different mindset, whole different preparation. And Kim Collins is an athlete who's definitely one of one. Watching him and knowing that he never really got in the gym and went hard, he just was truly talented as his being a top-end speed turnover kind of runner and doing the stuff that he's done in his career. Hats off to him, man. I'm glad you still got that record.
There you go. Last one for you. Kind of a good transition, actually. So I want to take you back. I know they've gone. I've seen a lot of things for, hey, can baseball players remember the starting lineup, the first ever game that they had, or who did you score your first points on? So I want to take you back to 2004. Can you remember who was in your final in 2004, all of the other names for who was in that race?
In the Olympics?
In the Olympic year 2004 100-meter Olympic final. Who was in that race?
I'm not going to look at your screen because I think you already have a list.
Yeah, I got the list right here.
So me, Sean Crawford, Maurice Green, Francis Obukwelu, Asafa Powell, Obadeli Thomas, Aziz Sakur,
yeah.
And 8 lanes. Who is that last person? 8 lanes. Oh, man. I have no idea.
You mentioned the person very recently. The last topic that we just said.
Asafa. Kim Collins?
Yeah.
Kim was in there?
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, cool. I feel that was impressive.
That was good. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was impressive. I went through the whole list almost. So,
there you go. Pretty good one. Good one. So, Justin, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's been awesome getting to chat with you again, and looking forward to seeing how Grand Slam goes, the rest of your Ready, Set, Go podcast. I know you got some really great athletes, really good stories coming out. I don't know if you wanted to share anything for people to look out for you guys, or what you have coming down the pipeline.
Oh, man, we just reached 79,000 subscribers, so please tune in. We're bringing bigger, better sit downs that's going to be able to kind of like be more thought provoking, more fun, more interactive. So we're always trying to grow for you. So please stay tuned. Ready, Set, Go. We're out there on all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pod, and we're going to show you love. We're also on Discord now. So if you ever want to get an opportunity and say, hey, man, Justin don't know what he's talking about, or, man, props to Rod, I want to give him congratulations, tune into Discord, come and have conversations with us in real time, and we would love to have you on, man. So shouts out to everybody. Thank you so much. And officially, we would love to have you on the show, man. Sit down and have some conversations, bro. Have some conversations, man.
Thank you. Would love to do it. Let me know the time and the place. I'd be more than happy to come on down. So thank you so much. And truly a special moment for me. I was when I started this thing, I didn't think this would grow to be anywhere near like this. I told my mom yesterday. I was like, yeah, I'm talking to Justin Gatlin. He gave me his number. I'm like, this is cool. And she was like, she's like, hold on, Dad. Like, called my dad, like, Colin, say that again. And I'm like, because they're at the track and field. They're like, I can't believe it. Are you serious? They're like, yeah, like some random kid from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania who grew this thing, and now we're talking to some of the greatest people in our sport. I'm like, it's pretty cool.
In my mind, we've already been friends. So I was like, we're talking over through DM, and we're like having these little moments where it's like dead space.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, Colin, just take my number down, bro. Just hit me up, bro.
Yeah, I was like, I want to ask, bro. It feels weird. I'll be like, hey, let's wait for it to say something. But no, so excited to see what you guys have coming down, and looking forward to everything else. So
Appreciate it, man.
All right.
Of course, man.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.